The word genius gets overused. It's something to be careful with. Sometimes it applies, though, as in the case of animation and entertainment legend Walt Disney. The Chicago native's early career in animation and entertainment initially saw a series of setbacks and trial and error, before ultimately changing entertainment and the world. Genius disrupts and revolutionizes. Disney was a genius. He passed away in 1965, but his creation lives on as the most iconic entertainment empire.
The Disney Company has gone through its share of ups and downs over a century of filmmaking, critically and commercially, but it's safe to say multiple feature films from the studio are indispensable to culture. These are all among the finest motion pictures from the most famous studio of all time, Disney features that are genuinely perfect from start to finish. This list covers animation and live action, as well as Disney Pixar titles.
Number 10, The Little Mermaid. The first film of the Disney Renaissance remains a perfectly paced, beautifully drawn and emotionally resonant Bildungsroman, with a headstrong mermaid princess, Jodie Benson, who dreams of life on land, among the most sympathetic and fully realized protagonists in Disney canon. The film's greatest creative asset is, without question, the toe-tapping and at times riveting musical score by Alan Menken and the late Howard Ashman.
Conversations past and present, and future, undeniably, revolve around the romance in The Little Mermaid, as Ariel pursues the handsome Prince Eric, Christopher Daniel Barnes, even at great personal risk and to the chagrin of her overbearing father, King Triton, Kenneth Mars. The romance is touching and effective, but it was never the point of the movie. The spinal column of the movie, and one area where the overproduced 2023 live-action remake simply is not a match for it, is in the father-daughter relationship. Their arc of mutual understanding is the heartbeat, it's what makes the film so timelessly effective.
Number 9, Up. Time best remembers, and will best remember, Up for its opening montage scenes. In just about 10 minutes of screen time, invaluably enhanced by Michael Giacchino's oft-referenced and Oscar-winning score, we get more about the triumphs and devastation that come with lasting love and romance than nearly any feature film has delivered in its entirety. The hero of Up is a grieving widower, Ed Asner, in a late career highlight, who blazes an aerial trail to South America along with a junior explorer, Jordan Nagai, fulfilling a lifelong dream.
There's a phrase that gets thrown around pretty often, Disney magic, or Pixar magic, or both. In Up, we start with the death of an elderly person, then there are talking dogs, a flying house, and adventure that evokes the serials that inspired George Lucas. What is this, if not magic? At this point in the heyday of Pixar, the relentless mad invention feels like a flex. The picture is Chaplin-esque in its grace, as well as the meaty, complex thematic material it tackles with gusto. This was only the second animated movie in history to receive an Oscar nod or Best Picture. It's easy to see why it garnered such distinction.
Number 8, Pinocchio. Walt Disney bet the farm on the production of the first-ever animated feature, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. It paid off, becoming the highest-grossing movie ever at the time, a record undone in 1939 with Gone with the Wind. Disney had more resources, not to mention surely boosted confidence, in picking his next major project. He chose Carlo Collodi's story about a wooden puppet who yearns to be a real boy, ultimately delivering an even more sophisticated motion picture experience.
Technological innovations made Pinocchio's aesthetics, the depictions of natural and man-made elements, all the more convincing and immersive. Thematically, the picture explores similarly dark and arguably more frightening territory than its red-blooded predecessor. The late second-act sequences on Pleasure Island, and the helpless transformation of deviant boys into subservient donkeys, is disturbing stuff when judged within any context. Act 3 is white-knuckled and visually stunning excitement within the belly of Monstro the whale, followed by Pinocchio's hard-earned transformation, as joyous a thing as you'll ever see in a film.
Number 7, Toy Story 3. Life can be a long and complicated road, and most people are looking for similar things along the way. One of those is meaning. Pixar's flagship series about the secret adventures of Woody, Tom Hanks, Buzz, Tim Allen, and friends is really all about purpose and the connections that make life worth living. Arriving 11 years after the excellent Toy Story 2, the third entry is likely the best in the series.
The closing minutes of Toy Story 3 represent some of the biggest narrative risks in Disney's canon. All the principals are nearly incinerated, and ultimately change hands from now teen Andy, Charlie Bright, to plucky toddler Bonnie, Emily Hahn. It pays off in a way that no film playing it safe ever could. This plot-forward, painstakingly crafted emotional ripper is the third and to date final animated film nominated for a Best Picture Oscar.
Number 6, The Lion King. The highest-grossing movie of one of the best years in movie history tells a somewhat lighter, modified but hardly insubstantial version of William Shakespeare's Hamlet set in the plains of Africa. The musical about a lion prince's return to Pride Rock as its rightful heir features toe-tapping, often soaring tunes by Tim Rice and Elton John and an early score by Hans Zimmer. The soundtrack album is the highest-selling for an animated film, inspiring the highest-grossing Broadway musical of all time.
Along with Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King represents the Disney Renaissance at its zenith. It appeals to virtually everyone in the audience. It's majestic and mature escapism that isn't above some winningly rude humor for the kids and kids at heart. Released after the similarly magical Aladdin broke the all-time box office records for an animated movie, The Lion King obliterated that record and raised the stakes considerably, grossing just under $1 billion worldwide. To date, it remains the highest-grossing 2D animated movie ever.
Number 5, Mary Poppins. In terms of box office, critical acclaim and must-see status among family audiences, Mary Poppins was basically Avengers: Endgame in its time. Walt Disney, long miffed by the Academy's aversion to nominating his animated films in the most weighty categories, long saw the live-action prestige triumph, ultimately setting his sights on P.L. Travers' low fantasy about a supernatural nanny, Julie Andrews, who works her magic on the Banks family, at least until the wind changes.
Mary Poppins seamlessly weaves live-action and animation in sequences that were highly innovative for the time, and Oscar-winning Andrews strikes the same winning balance of stern and caring that made her a no-brainer for Maria von Trapp a year later. Both characters are among the best and most beloved in classic Hollywood history.
Number 4, Finding Nemo. So, there's this really smart and psychologically complex film about the risks of helicopter parenting you should check out. It's called Finding Nemo. The vocal talents of Albert Brooks and Ellen DeGeneres drive the classic adventure dramedy about a widower clownfish searching for his lost son across the Great Barrier Reef and the East Australian Current. This might be the most quoted of Pixar's comedies, Oscar-nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and the underwater vistas, groundbreaking for the time, still look great.
The second highest-grossing movies of 2003 behind only The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, Finding Nemo is one of those top-tier, revelatory Disney movies that truly commanded a cultural moment. Is this the jewel in Pixar's crown? It certainly seems possible.
Number 3, Sleeping Beauty. Walt Disney's widescreen wonder often catches flack for the thinness of the characters, particularly Princess Aurora, Mary Costa. Here's the thing, the movie isn't really centered on Aurora. The narrative is driven by the conflict between the three good fairies, Barbara Luddy, Verna Felton and Barbara Jo Allen, and the witch Maleficent, Eleanor Audley. You know, the struggle between good and evil, which works so well in the best of Disney's canon.
But what works best here is the artwork. Narratively satisfying Sleeping Beauty is rightfully regarded as the most artistically astounding hand-drawn film in Disney's canon, thanks in no small part to the paintings of Eyvind Earle. Sleeping Beauty's climactic battle with the forces of evil, set to ever-escalating Pyotr Tchaikovsky brass and percussion, is the most visually breathtaking action sequence in animation history. See it on a big screen and it'll drop your jaw.
Number 2, Beauty and the Beast. After The Little Mermaid made Disney great again, completely revolutionizing and refreshing the animation studio in the eyes of critics and audiences, the creatives behind that relatively scrappier masterpiece created an even more polished feature that's easily Disney's greatest love story, considered by some to be the jewel in the studio's crown.
Beauty and the Beast takes many creative cues, particularly visuals, from Jean Cocteau's 1946 masterpiece La Belle et la Bête, but that isn't to say so much as an inch of the Disney film feels derivative. Thanks to more music from Ashman and Menken, and groundbreaking animation that fleetingly used CGI for the first time in a Disney film, Beauty and the Beast fully captured Walt Disney's Golden Age formula while taking the studio into uncharted territory, both technically and in terms of more complex dramatic themes.
And number 1, Walt Disney's first full-length animated feature in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Everyone thought Walt Disney was nuts when he staked his own livelihood and the future of his studio in an expensive, exhaustive first, a feature-length animated movie. Many in the press and the public called it Disney's folly. Well, the folly worked out in the end, and frankly it would be hard nigh impossible to overstate its cultural impact. This is the movie that built the most iconic of all entertainment empires. Many doubted audiences would be able to sit still for 80 minutes of animation, much less emotionally engage with it. But innovations like the sympathetic, wide Disney eyes and other meticulous characterization melded with catchy songs, slapstick comedy and dazzling visuals to create an experience unlike anything before it.
Based on the German fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm, the story of a young princess and an evil queen dead set on destroying her is so well known at this point it might be tempting to forget why it all worked so damn well to begin with. The screen story is adapted for maximum emotions and excitement. Make no mistake, this is as primal a film about good and evil as The Exorcist. The queen, Lucille Laverne, is menacing, vain and cruel enough to make most horror villains pale in comparison, a contrast to the kindness of the princess, Adriana Caselotti, that beguiles everyone around her. This isn't simplistic, it's universal, archetypal. The unprecedented and historic artistry is in service of something that is genuinely, psychologically gripping. The first animated feature remains the greatest animated movie of all time.